We're Bat Minute 89.
Hello and welcome once again to Bat Minute 89, the podcast where we analyze, scrutinize, and get a whiff of the posy of Tim Burton's 1989 Batman film, 1 minute at a time. I am one of the hosts, Niall McGowan.
And I am some other guy who also turns up on here 3 days a week, John Parker.
This week we are once again joined by another Movies by Minutes person. I was going to try to think of a fancier
person.
I was trying to think, what else? Raconteur?
I don't know. That is true.
Yeah, he's a person. But we have from the in-between seasons, although, depends on when you're listening to this, I guess. But as of recording in-between seasons, Mogwai Minute, all the way from Hong Kong, Neil Brown.
Hello there.
Hey, hello.
Thanks for coming, Neil.
It's a pleasure. It's a real pleasure. This is one of my favorite movies. I really do like pretty much anything that reminds me of my childhood, and this is a big one. And I'm sure we'll talk about that at some point during the week. But this is a big movie for me, so I'm delighted to talk about it.
Oh, good stuff. It's just, again, it's another one of those weird things because you're on hiatus at the minute. But like when Mogwai Minute was on, like it was the same that happened when we had like Heidi and Sean from Spinal Tap Minute on, where I was so used to every day of the week hearing these voices, and then they just weren't there anymore. And then it's like, oh, they're back. And now it's like Neil and George were there for like months. And now then they went away, and now it's like, hey, he's back again. So
I'm going to forget that we're doing a show with you, actually, Neil. I think I'll probably just assume I'm listening to you on yours.
Well, in the truest sense of that, I will just have to stop you for 1 sec and just do this. There you go, because it's Saturday. It's 9:00 at night for me, and if you think I'm doing this without a beer, you would not be right.
This is one of the few occasions I have done it without a beer. So this is interesting, new dynamic.
But anyway, today we're here to talk about minute 64 of Tim Burton's Batman, and it's again, it's one of these ones now we're just right into the action of everything. So it's like every minute's just like, but minute 64 begins with the unveiling of a face. And it ends 1 minute later with the splashing of a face. So,
or the melting of a face,
well,
depending on how you want to interpret it.
But we come in here mid-conversation where the Joker's explaining his concept art that he's made of Alicia, and says, that she falls in line with his new philosophy, basically, and that now, like him, she is a living work of art. And, at this point, all we've seen of Alicia since, her rather stony expression earlier in the film has been replaced with a porcelain expression that's just as lifeless later on.
Yeah, not much different. Yeah, there's no change.
And it could have been like the world's worst stand-in. This is like, yeah, that's Jerry Hall. It's like, I think people are going to know it's a mask, But it's like, no, you can't tell the difference at all.
Well, we're being a bit critical of her, to be honest, because she doesn't have a lot to do with this character. You know what I mean? Like, she's a very bland character. She may be a great actress, but we're not going to see it.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen her. I don't think I've seen her since. Although, interestingly, because we can actually bring this up now, because we have someone from the UK who would know who we're talking about. Because,
makes a change, yeah.
Yeah, but one of the people who apparently was up for Alicia before it went to Jerry Hall, as conflicting reports say it was Vicki, Vale, or Alicia, but apparently it was Patsy Kensit. Most people know she later on went, like very soon later on, like literally straight after, went in to do
Lethal Weapon 2.
Weapon 2.
She's great.
Yeah.
Oh, what a movie.
But she spent many years later on down the line when her kind of Hollywood didn't quite work out for her, but she still etched out a decent living as like lead characters in a lot of British soaps. So you get like, well, I say a lot. I think it's like Holby City and Emmerdale when she was in for ages and ages and ages, as you tend to do once you get sucked in.
And dating Liam Gallagher as
That's
well.
right,
Yes,
yeah.
Back in the day. No, I was a massive fan of Patsy Kensit, and I think she did. Well, if I watch it now, I'd probably disagree with myself, but from memory, she did a half decent South African accent in Lethal Weapon 2, but she was absolutely gorgeous in that movie.
Yeah. I did watch it recently, actually, last year, and I also seem to remember her voice being okay. So I'm going to side with you. I'm going with she did a good job.
Nice. Good job, Patsy.
Yeah, I don't know, like, that may give her one leg up over Jerry Hall already, because, like, can Jerry Hall do a convincing South African accent? Probably not.
I don't
It's
see
no
that
comparison. I mean, Patsy Kensit, I think, is a good actress with quite a lot of experience, as you just said. How long do you think that Vicki and Bruce have been dating at this point?
Well, this is a thing that's come up because, and literally going through it minute by minute, it seems like they were never officially dating anyway, because she goes around on one date to his house one time.
Yeah.
They sleep together, and then he gets rid of her the next day, and then that's it. That's the last contact. She briefly touches his shoulder on the steps of the courthouse, and we don't see what happens after that.
Right.
And then it's the next kind of word we have of them making contact was this alleged set-up date, which of course wasn't even Bruce Wayne setting it up. So it seems as if the Gotham tabloids have done the job for them of announcing. Or, the gossip mongers of Bob and other people have been like, oh, she's dating some guy named Wayne. Well, they were never dating. Yeah, they were one time.
My next question was, do you think there could be a period of a few weeks where we just don't see it? And that would also perhaps explain some of the very fast progress the Joker's made that you guys have been talking about a few weeks ago, in terms of the outfits, the gadgets, all that kind of stuff. It seems like if this is only 2 days after he was, came out the surgery, the grotty surgery, then that's crazy, right? But so there must be some time passed.
It is crazy.
Well, I mean, if we try to follow a logical progression of they had date night, and then the courthouse thing happened presumably later that afternoon. Or maybe even
definitely later, because he kicks her out that morning, and then she follows him immediately.
Oh no, there's a bit of her going in. There's that bit of her rifling through the files at the newspaper office, and then that could be that's when she went in for an hour, and then she went back out to and then he went and did this thing, because it seemed as if he was I'm busy this afternoon.
Yeah, so that can't do it today.
Yeah, that's what he said.
And then maybe there could be a passing of time, because Bob went to take those photos, and then this is 1989, so let's say it takes a couple of days maybe to get the photos developed, I guess, because it's when
I reckon he does it himself.
Yeah, he does it himself. He doesn't take them into the shop.
He could have. You never know.
Yeah, I did. Thanks, Eddie. Yeah, you didn't look at those, did you? Nothing weird.
They come in and it's Bob, what's with this new jacket with all this clown face on it and stuff? It's my new boss, He's actually technically my old boss, but it's a whole thing,
Have some free makeup.
It's a new thing we're trying, yeah.
But it's in that scene of him coming in and going, the photos, that's when he says she's dating some guy named Wayne.
Yes, that's right.
So somehow, in the period of that one night that this has got out, maybe because it was mentioned in the news office when Vicki Vale said I've got a date with Bruce Wayne, and Knox was Wayne,
some guy at the next desk on the
yeah, it could be the gossip columnist.
Some gossip columnist,
I got a scoop. It's
front page.
It's
a scoop.
It's a whole cut scene of this hitting the tabloids, and Taylor Swift is enraged because she thought she was dating Bruce Wayne, and et cetera, et cetera.
Oh. That'll be a song within the hour.
It's that's not this Taylor Swift. We could have a song written about us within minutes. You never know. But
if she wants to do a Batman at 89 diss track, bring it on.
Because also, sorry, she's bringing her portfolio to show him, right?
That's right.
And that to me seems like that's really what she might do on the second date. Not on date number 10.
And we move over then to the actual. We haven't even really got into the minutes yet. Sort of like the first couple of.
Actually, yeah, I had something to say about the first second, which I never really brought up. It's when he says, Alicia, sit down, show the lady why you wear the mask. And I like the way, as he's saying that, though, he's actually looking at Vicki. Like he's telling Alicia to do something, but he's staring right at Vicki. It's quite threatening. I thought that was pretty creepy.
Yeah, it's kind of like it really shows you what he, an amount of disrespect for Alicia as well. The fact that he won't even look at her when he's talking to her is like she means so little to him, and it's even like the way like Bob brought him over was just like Bob, Alicia, like she's just there waiting, doped up in the wings to sort of to be hauled out whenever he needs her, kind of thing.
She's literally a piece of art.
That's
all she is to him now.
As we see then exactly, what he's done is that she takes off the mask, and her face has been scarred in some way. I guess we'll find out later this minute. It's presumably from acid that he's poured on her. And I do wonder if this is was this early days? Because his whole thing now is he's developed this Smilex gas from this old nerve gas and all this kind of stuff, and this is his thing now, is getting everyone with the rictus grin. I'm wondering if he did Alicia early on, as this is I'm going to alter people's appearances, but I'm going to do, I'll try out this acid thing and see if this works. And it's that's okay, but I think I'm going to go and develop it into something else. And
well, I had a similar thought, but I thought it was actually more him testing his Smilex, or whatever you want to call it. Because I think he was just trying to get it. He's just working on the formula. So this is like an early stage of the development of Smilex, and he hasn't got it quite right, and it just burns her face, basically.
Yeah, that would make sense as well, because he did say she's just a sketch. So I mean, you sketch something before you do the grand piece. Then I guess so. Yeah,
exactly.
that would make sense.
Yeah, and I mean, acid is, of course, it's horrible, but the way he was going on about it, I was expecting her to, look like a Picasso picture or something which he then does reference, of course, in a minute.
Well, he's removed her nose and put it on her forehead and stuff, or at a jaunty angle.
Yeah, exactly. completely rearranged her face, maybe grafted someone else's skin to part of it and think,
Nice.
you expect it to be even more messed up, but at the end of the day, I mean, she looks the same, just with a bit of a scar.
Do you think those thoughts often, John? Do you need to go and sit in a dark corner somewhere?
This is a problem for me. I accept that. It's fine. I'm trying to deal with it and work through it. I'm getting help.
I will say though, I think that this may be, we've had sort of a mixture of references throughout the process of the film, because you can get the sort of the references to Frankenstein and stuff in. That's Tim Burton putting that in. And then there's references back in Axis Chemicals, where it was a bit like White Heat. I was that's in Sam Hamm's script. I can imagine that's him going, it's like a gangstery kind of thing. That's what I'm doing. And I think that this actual, the reveal of Alicia, it may be a reference to a classic gangster film, The Big Heat, with Lee Marvin, where it's very famously disturbing scene where he's arguing with his girlfriend, and he picks up a boiling hot pot of coffee and splashes it in her face. And then she's she's scolded and all the, this kind of, sorry, I went into a half Simpsons reference there. I'm scolded, I am. But
that was a real stretch, that one. Jeez.
It wouldn't be an episode of Batman at 89 without a dubious Simpsons reference.
We've got to get in a Twin Peaks one before the episode's out as well.
But yeah, later on you see the character Gloria Graham, and she comes up with a kind of similar sort of scar tissue makeup on her face. So it's I was thinking maybe that internally Sam Hamm might have been he's still a gangster at heart, and it's still, we're going for that film noir vibe. So it's a little reference to an old film noir film, basically. So
could well be.
It's just putting it out there. Just putting it out there. So
is he still alive, Sam Hamm?
I think he's still going, yeah.
Is he on Twitter? Because I can imagine that's the sort of thing that, some really kind of bizarre reference that just happens to be correct. If you tweeted him, Niall, you'd be like, hey, this kid, he's the first one who spotted it in all these years.
Anyway, back into the minute. Back
Oh,
into
can we have
Batman.
a back to Batman?
Oh, no, we can't when we're on
Oh,
Skype.
man.
It doesn't work on Skype.
Oh, well.
I know, it's annoying. It's when we just
Put
use
it in
Zencaster.
post, it's
Yeah, put it in post.
Or you could just do it. We could just sing it like that each time instead.
But I do have, like, before... Oh, we get this one shot of Alicia, but I will note that apparently, the chief makeup guy who did all the Joker stuff, Nick Dudman, he didn't do this makeup, apparently. He's made a specific... There's an interview where he goes, no, that wasn't me. I did the mask. And I don't know if he's, like, really... It had nothing to do with me.
That was not me.
To be fair, though, the guy who did do it, the fella called Paul Engelin, and he's like one of the chief makeup people on Game of Thrones. He was the chief makeup designer on The Phantom Menace, which is, they into The Phantom Menace all you want. Makeup was fine.
Good makeup.
Makeup was pretty good, yeah.
Darth
so I
Maul.
guess Darth Maul. So I guess that's the same fella. Maybe he came to, like, George Lucas, is like, this is Alicia sketch. He's like, oh, what if Darth Maul just had, like, a slight scalding on his face? And he's like, I think you're going to have to amp this up quite a bit here, Paul, But
I'm a fan of Amidala's makeup.
Oh, yeah. With the kind of the porcelain look.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah, and that weird little line of lipstick.
It does specifically say in the script that Alicia's mask is supposed to be like a porcelain doll as well. So it's kind of a weird kind of tie-in right there. But
The only reason I can think that he really denounced that so categorically is because these two guys hate each other. And he's like, that is not my work. But of course, it was very good work, and the guy went on to be very successful.
yeah, of course, yeah. He also did. In my head, I was just like, because we still have this whole business of like everything's connected, and it was because I noted that he also did
Never going away.
Yeah, so he also did the makeup for the remake of Little Shop of Horrors and Three Men and a Little Lady, and I was like, oh. Okay. Both those films have been mentioned with one the same episode because we had Dale Kingsmill back on. Three Men and a Little Lady was actually Three Men and a Baby, the predecessor.
It's not the same movie, Niall. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's not the same movie at all, but it's linked. And I was like, oh, it's
linked, yeah.
And then it's just also because like, oh, it's that same episode with Dale. It's like both those films kind of came up. Well, it's all connected. And it's like, it's stretching it, but
no, it's all connected. Hashtag it's all connected. That's a thing now. Apparently, I didn't coin it. Someone else did.
Yeah, and it also wouldn't be an episode of Batman 89 without some stretching link to some other.
Yeah,
stretching. What are you talking about? These links are all perfect.
It's the most important part of the show, to be honest.
That's definitely one of the most amusing.
We haven't described what's actually happening. Yeah. We said, oh yeah, she takes the mask off.
Yeah.
But no, because Joker actually says something I love. I love this little back and forth because he says, I'm no Picasso, but do you like it? Not really. But Vicki, she plays it pretty cool, and she says, what can I do for you? And it's his reply that I especially love. A little song, a little dance, Batman's head on a lance.
Yeah.
What the hell is that? What's he doing?
That's another of my classic things that I frequently quote that people are always a bit like, what? Because anytime anyone said to me, oh, what do you want? Like in my head, I'll have, oh, a little song, a little dance. And sometimes I've come out with it. And it's not as difficult to trace back to this film as some of the other ones. But you do get, like, it has been met with an arched eyebrow or two in its time. So
I'm sure it has.
Do you also want your face on the $1 bill?
Well, yes, of course. But although over here it would be pretty much useless to me. It would be just like... Plus, this week they just got rid of the old pound coins as well. You can't get them anymore. So it's like, I could have had my chance to get on the new one, but now that's gone as well. But
oh, well, they've revamped the £5 note and the £10 note, so surely the 20s next.
That would make sense.
So we've still got a chance. But I love when he says that. I love Joker's the little dance that he does do to go along with it. And then flapping his hands like to be Batman. He says, tell me, what do you know about... And then flapping them like little bat wings. That's one of the funniest things I've ever seen, I'll be perfectly honest.
There's a lot of good little actions from Jack, actually, in that whole... Because, the dance, but even when when he gets up and he's like, oh, do you like it? And Vicky's like, oh, it's great. Like, I'm really panicked, but like he does have a kind of little swagger in his step. I'm like, oh, well, thank you. Like, sort of like he's very proud of himself like, through his body language. It's like, oh, well, that's nice that you like it. Yes.
Oh,
I think he is
bless
proud
him.
of it. I really do, and I have some thoughts on Flesh Joker.
Oh.
You've interestingly coined him. But before I get to that, so he says, so the Joker says, so like, what do you know about Batman? And she says, oh, sorry, she says, I don't know anything about Batman, right? And he goes, really? And it's like, the way he says that, it's like she's let something slip.
Yeah.
Like the old classic, like, well, I never said the name Batman, but he did.
Yeah.
So, I don't know what the real, like, it's a real, like, really? How do you don't know where that's coming from?
I think it might be because he's so...
Yeah, because they don't know... Oh, sorry. They don't know that Bruce is Batman, do they?
No.
At this point. No, exactly. That's what I'm thinking. So that would make sense if they knew. And, she's been seeing Bruce.
Yeah.
He's asking about Batman, and he's like going, oh, well, I know something you don't know, kind of thing. I mean, the only other explanation I can think of is because he knows that she's actually sort of hunting Batman for the story.
That's what I think that is.
Yeah. Because he knows she's working with Knox, and Knox is known for his Batman stories. So I guess she's like, oh. And I think maybe it's because she had... When he says, like, oh, what do you know about it? And does a little flappy. And then she's so immediate and going, like, I don't know anything about Batman. And it's just kind of like, oh, it's, thou dost protest too much. Kind of like, oh, you seem very quick to answer that one. So I think you may know. Now I'm more convinced that you do know something about him. Even though, technically, she doesn't. She doesn't know anything about him. So, which
she's only seen him from afar.
Which, I mean, as far as she also seen him quite up close in the bedroom, but she didn't know at the time.
Oh.
So here's what I think about Flesh Joker, and this is why it comes in right at the next point in this minute, because I think the Flesh Joker is really very interesting. He's a very interesting character in his own right. Why does he put this makeup on? I mean, in this scene, he's even dyed his hair like back to brown or black, whatever it is, right? So he's gone to great lengths to look kind of normal again, in inverted commas. But as the Joker, he's clearly not bothered about his new Joker appearance or what anyone thinks about him.
Yeah.
So why do it, right?
Yeah.
And
well, my idea for this scene, though, is specifically this time, because he does it a couple of times for different reasons, but I think he genuinely wants, maybe to be with Vicki. Like, I think he wants to dress up for her almost, like put on a better face. Because he's trying to get rid of Alicia. He doesn't give a damn about her. Now he's moving on. Because he wants to have basically what Batman has in a way. He wants a working and a personal relationship with this woman. So I think he's like, well, she might like me if I look more like this. I think he is that insecure kind of in a way.
And when he did it previously to the bosses, is that the only other time he's done it before?
Yeah.
Are these the only two times
he does it? Later on when he appears on to announce that the parade is happening, and he's like sitting in front of like an open fire. And he's like a little cardigan, trying to look very wholesome and stuff. It's like
when he did it the first time, John. Why do you think that's for a different reason than the one you just outlined for Vicki here?
Well, I mean, it's a similar type of reason. I assumed he wanted to look normal because his plan wasn't. He was trying to appear like, oh, I'm just the new boss. I've been given the gang to take over. He didn't want to appear weird and creepy and twisted to them. He seemed to maybe genuinely be wanting them to join him. I thought, and then, well, if they don't, then I'll go crazy.
Yeah, that's right. And so I think this is exactly the same thing that's happening here. And I think that Flesh Joker is actually like really Jack Napier subconsciously coming out in the Joker. And he's trying to put on this normal facade, or this some normality is coming through, as you know, as normal as Jack Napier really is, right? But some normality is coming out, and on a subconscious, or maybe it's a more of a kind of a conscious level, because the Joker has to actually do the makeup and such, or get other people to do the makeup. And at some point during this attempt to be normal, the Joker comes out or comes back, right? And he just can't help it. And this exact moment is when that happens, because as soon as she says she doesn't know anything about Batman, he then suggests, well, how about a bit of you and me? And why don't we start with looking at this flower? And that's the Joker, right? That's pure Joker.
Yes.
And I just think he can't help himself. But I really think that this is a cry for help from the Joker when he puts on the Flesh Joker. The Flesh Joker is a real cry for help, I think, and no one picks up on it. And if the mob bosses had just been a bit more sympathetic, then Antoine wouldn't have got a little hot under the collar. And if Vicki had just been a bit more sympathetic, then she might have been able to help him.
Oh, no, that's upsetting now, though. The poor guy. All he needs is psychiatric help. I heard there's a good person down at the asylum, Harleen Quinzel. She can work on him.
Make that work.
It'll be fine.
At least if that was his plan, though, could have dialed it back with the whole trashing all the paintings in the museum bit, because that's kind of like, well, this is quite an entrance you've made here. You've definitely got my attention.
But again, I think that's the Joker. He's at home, right, and he's thinking, right, I'm going to go meet this girl, and I need to kind of, Jack Napier starts to come out again as the normal, in inverted commas thing, the Flesh Joker. But as soon as they get to the museum and the doors open, and he sees everyone dead or out of it, and all this artwork that he can trash, the Joker comes out and he goes crazy. But then, and again, and when he stops Bob from breaking the Francis Bacon, that's the Joker, right? Because the Joker is the one who likes it. But then as soon as he kind of sees Vicki again, it's like, here comes Napier again, and he sits down. He's normal again. He's the artist. And this is, I think this is...
So you're thinking it's a kind of almost like a Fight Club situation?
Well, I mean, I'm no psychotherapist,
or Split,
but,
or something.
And I wouldn't want to diagnose the Joker with something like schizophrenia, right? But it's not too much of a stretch, I don't think, to think he has some sort of elements of that in his psyche.
I like that. I'm going to be looking out for it throughout the film now if he does that again. Or is it only when he's Fleshy Joker or Fleshy Jack?
I do love the idea, though. I'm surprised they've not done it, like, that they'd have, like, in the merchandising, they would have a toy called Flesh Joker that was just like, it's the same toy, but we've just painted him different. It's just like...
Yeah.
Although, when I was a kid and that, I imagine similar for you, Niall, a lot of toys would often, they could be reversible heads. Like, so if a character had two different looks, it would let you flip the head and change it.
One of the ones I have was actually Beetlejuice. It was Michael Keaton. He had the attachable and reattachable head. And I remember I had this little shrunken Beetlejuice head underneath.
Yes.
When you took off his big one.
Again,
and stuff,
with these tenuous connections, Niall. This is ridiculous.
I've got another one coming up at the end here as well.
I'm looking forward to that. Well, I'll go back slightly to something you said, Neil, because you mentioned a line that Joker says, and it was something that stood out to me because he says, well, how about a little you and me? Now, I was confused by that. Is it like, is this a phrase that I've just not heard? Is it a bit like "how's your father"? Like, what's he getting at here? A little you and me. Is that what he's insinuating?
Like, I think is what he's after.
I think Nicholson makes these lines up. He's had a few of these weird lines.
That's right. He just wants a bit of action, doesn't he? I mean, who'd blame him? She's gorgeous. Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful.
She looks incredible in this movie.
It's just his manner of doing it. It's kind of it's unfortunate timing because this is the week of all the Harvey Weinstein stuff coming out, and it's just like, this is very this isn't the way you win over a lady. It's just by like saying something like that and then lunging at her. And he has obviously, move up, has his, oh, why don't you have a whiff of my posy? And he's got his, the classic Joker acid flower. Actually, speaking of the toys, because that was the thing I used to have, the Joker toy, back when I was a kid. I remember that was like the kind of big feature of him was that he had a little kind of yellow plastic kind of thing that you could fill up with water and attach into his back.
Oh, nice.
And it would spray water out of the boutonniere or whatever you want to.
It would be water if you put water in it. But, if you put acid in it, Niall, that thing's going to squirt acid.
To be fair, I don't think the toy would have survived having the
got
acid
one
coming through
squirt
it.
out of it.
Yeah,
I want to get one of these flowers for myself, and then I could just put like scotch in it. And then when someone wants a drink, just fill up the glass.
I thought you were just like, if you're at a really terrible party and you're like, oh God, and you're just like sucking on the flower the whole time.
Oh, John's in the corner again, sucking on his flower.
That sounds wrong.
I do love this idea of you arriving in work with it's like, oh, John, you look so nice with this little flower. You're like, yep, feeling great.
Yeah. As disturbing as that sounded as well, I found the line that you said there, Niall, very disturbing, where he says, have a whiff of my posy. That sounds like a euphemism as well, doesn't it?
That's absolutely a euphemism right there.
I think that could actually potentially be a bit of a Jack improv, because in the original script, he says, why don't you stop and smell the roses? And then in like one of the later ones, he just says, here's a flower. And it's like, maybe Jack was like,
there, yeah.
It's very matter of fact.
Jack might have been like, he might have been like, oh, let's dress this up a bit.
I assume you guys have, or one of you has checked if it is actually a posy.
Yes,
of course.
Have you done?
No, I left all this stuff to you guys. It's your show. I just rock up as a guest and off we go.
No, we need you here to do all the hard work while we just sit back and relax.
I had to do all this for Gremlins. I don't do it for Batman.
But it's an orchid apparently.
Yes,
which is I thought at the time was like, oh, in my head I had orchids are like a symbol of death and stuff, and I looked it up on the internet and it's like no, they're not. And even like,
I thought they were as well, to be honest. So I didn't even look it up because I just thought, that's a fact.
No, that's what I thought. And I was looking into forums, and people were coming into forums going, "Why are orchids linked with death?" And all the answers were like, "They're not linked with death. I don't know where are you getting this from." So apparently they're actually.
Wait. If all of these people, including us, think that they are, then they are.
Yeah.
Because we're linking them with death.
Well, so apparently, like this way back in like the olden days, they were linked with like love, beauty, fertility, refinement, thoughtfulness, and charm. And it's like, where are you getting death from that? I don't know where. There must be something. Maybe was it in a film or a TV show where like an orchid was left as a calling card of death or something? And,
was it in a film? Yeah. It's in this film. This is where it comes from.
It could be.
It could be.
It could be, yeah, because it's an acid flower.
It's a flower of death.
I had some kind of vision of it being like a Japanese film or something of like someone cutting someone down with a sword and then leaving the orchid as a thing. Something in my head.
Sounds like it should be.
Yeah, it sounds like that is a thing, but I just like again, Google didn't come up with anything. So
Orchid Ronin didn't. That's not a thing. The samurai of the orchid.
Well, I'm writing it now.
We'll see, yeah. But
say when he shoots the burning acid out of the damn flower, terrifying. I originally thought that. Well, now Neil's ruined it for me. I originally thought that maybe this is what he did to Alicia. Like she annoyed him.
Yeah.
So he shot the flower acid at her, burnt her face. Because I got the impression that maybe what he did to her was more calculated or done by design. But maybe he did just snap, because as we've discovered, Niall, he apparently is quite volatile in his personality, even before being the Joker. Yeah.
The Joker.
Yeah. Well, no, but before being the Joker, even as Jack Napier. Because we always thought when he becomes Jack Napier, he changes.
Yeah.
Sorry, when he becomes the Joker, he changes. But no, it lays a little bit of groundwork to say, actually, he's just crazy all along.
Let's examine that a little. I mean, he does change a little, I think, in that his whole
In the face?
his face literally goes through change. But I think his whole kind of his whole sphere, it just gets heightened, and to insanity levels that weren't present when he was Napier, right? I mean, when he's Napier, he's more of just sort of like a psycho kind of, he's an A1 nut boy, basically.
Yeah.
Whereas the Joker is literally a psychotic lunatic.
Yeah.
And anything can go.
This is Jack. I think this is Jack without like the inhibitions.
Yes.
There's nothing stopping him. Like there's no reason to
It's
kill.
like literally like that acid like melted away any barriers that he had in his own head. Like it's like everything's just flowing out now. He's not holding back at all anymore. Like
if you think about his imagination, like could Jack Napier have come up with the floats that we see in the parade and those crazy balloons that you guys are going to have a great time talking about? I don't think he could. But that, so the Joker has come up with this I don't know if he's actually done it himself, but this is his ideas, this is his concept, and this is what he wants to do. He wants these giant balloons, blah, blah, blah. And, that's something that Joker's been capable of, but not Jack Napier. So it's heightened everything. It's heightened his imagination, his psychotic tendencies, even to the fact where he's totally delusional because he thinks he's an artist, for God's sake.
Yeah.
But Jack wasn't like that. Jack was, got to the position where he was. He was number 2 in this organization, right? Because he's got, I don't think you would get there just by being psycho. So he's got something more about him. He is obviously crazy. He's a bit of a kind of psycho, right, Jack?
Yeah.
But it's got someone about him that's smart, right? And I think that goes out the window when it comes to Joker. No, not the smarts, because he's doing the chemistry bit and he's the grand plan.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. Yeah,
it's just that Jack seems to me like he's got a bit more of a political game in him because he's got to that position where he's number 2.
Yeah.
Whereas I think the Joker's politics just goes out the window and he's just right. What are we going to do?
Yeah, I always pictured like Jack's rise through Grissom's ranks has been more that. It was 1 was like loyalty, and 2 was because it might have been like, he's obviously intelligent, but I think he might have also had just a bit of like a sickness in him that like he'll do what needs to be done. Like if you need someone taken care of, you get Jack. Like he's the guy he'll take care of anything for you. He doesn't, and he'll
reliable.
Yeah, reliable, right. And he'll do it to like if you need someone dead, he'll make sure that he's dead, kind of thing. But back then he might have just been like, I just enjoy shooting people, but now it's like I enjoy. Spraying acid out of a flower and all. He's really let go kind of thing. So it's more like it's him times 10 almost kind of thing. Like it's a disease Jack Napier, the disease of his mind just let loose kind of thing. But
and it's interesting that you kind of mention that now, because my only other note for this minute is that we're right at the end of the minute now. We get the whole melting thing, right? She goes over and grabs the water from the table where I must say I love the guy that's like face planting his plate of spaghetti at that table. It's just literally
he's been there
a long time. And that made me think, is this gas lethal, or do you think it's just knocked everyone out? Like in this poor guy.
This is a debate we've been having with like ever since the scene started, and some like I think Claire was like, they're dead. And then Heidi before was like, no, I think they might just be knocked out and stuff. It's like, it's a raging debate. But that guy's definitely dead because he's freaking got his face.
This poor guy.
He's drowned in marinara sauce.
But so she gets the water, she splashes him in the face, and he does this whole melting thing. And it's actually quite a funny gag, and I like it. And I think the Joker's actually quite a funny guy.
I think the funny side of him makes him seem even more creepy and even darker as well, in a way. Like it heightens that side of him because it just adds an extra a bit like the way people find clowns creepy because they're trying to be funny and do silly things, and it adds a sort of unsettling sort of thing to it. So if you're just dangerous and aggressive and like it's not got any impact really after a while, does it? It's like seeing that there's no contrast.
That's right, and I think you're right. And clowns do kind of, from their very nature, as a starting point, start beyond the normal person. What is the normal person? The normal person's kind of comfort zone, right? And so from
Yeah.
the very start, he's outside of that, and obviously then you add in the kind of lunacy and the psychosis and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, this is why the Joker's just such a brilliant invention as a character, because even if he doesn't have any of those tendencies, he's already unsettling because he is trying to do something to you, right? He's trying to kind of he's doing silly things, or he's doing kind of tricks or whatever it might be to get you to do something, and that's unsettling.
Yeah. I think actually they're talking about like, you know, him in terms of he's trying to do something to you. So think like you're talking, you know, about how he did what he did to Alicia and how that links into the flower. I think personally that Alicia was more of a sadistic. Like he probably took his time more there, like because he considers her, oh, this is one of his pieces. So he probably was like could have had her tied down, and he was just like dripping acid on her and stuff. But then it's more like he needs to get Vicki on board, and he can see that she's backing off. So I think in his way of like, oh, I can get her, I can do, you know, something to hook her in. If I spray her with this acid and it does the same damage, at least then I've kind of got her. I think, you know, that might have been where that came from in his head of like, she's backing off, but if I do this, then, you know, at least.
But he's moving from, you know, I mean, I guess is exactly the point now. I mean, my point earlier is clowns manipulate you, right? They manipulate people. Now he's going into physical manipulation, not just kind of psychological manipulation. So it's you know, it's an even scarier kind of next step. Yeah. And he's and then he's just tried to do the same immediately with Vicki Vale, not even kind of like warming her in as his new girl. That's his way, exactly as you say, of getting Vicki Vale to be his, is to do this physical damage to her face. Then she's got nowhere else to go. She's going to be mine.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, it's very manipulative. It's very scary.
But as you say, then we do get her. Like Vicki does the classic, throws the old water in the face, which is it's a routine. I think I've only ever seen it done in films of like, you know. It's usually when a woman is just outraged by a man, she'll throw her drink in his face and stuff. But this seems to be a bit more urgent than that is.
Yeah, what did she?
Yeah, plus look, he's dying, Niall. He's melting. Holy crap!
And it's
Well,
and you guys, you know, I promised earlier that there was going to be a tenuous connection to something, but yeah, here it is. Because that's all the whole like, oh, I'm melting. Oh, that's obviously in reference to the Wizard of Oz when, you know, the Wicked Witch is splashed and she starts to melt as well. The Wicked Witch was played by a woman named Margaret Hamilton, who's the distant cousin to Neil Hamilton, who played Commissioner Gordon in the 1960s Batman series.
Oh my God.
There you go.
That works. That's good.
It's all connected.
The master at work.
I can imagine that, like, you know, because there's a chance that Jack Nicholson or someone working on the film knew that as well. It was like, this will be a nice little.
No,
I think it could have been that someone who knows they're Batman could have been like, yeah, Neil Hamilton was related to the Wicked Witch and stuff. And
no, nobody ever knew that. That's they didn't have IMDb. Nobody cared.
I'm with John on this one. Sorry, Niall.
But
now the people know. Now it's out there. The truth is known.
But yeah, that's all I got for that bombshell of information.
Oh yeah, leave it on that bombshell.
That's all I got.
That info and the Joker melting to death. Jeez, what a way to end a minute.
That's the end of them too. They never recovers from that. That's the last of the character, and it's the end credits next minute now. So end of the movie.
Yep, going into the end credits. Oh, what a shame! What a shame.
No, we can't do that because the next minute is my favorite minute of the entire movie. So yeah, there's a little teaser.
Yeah, teaser for Wednesday's episode. Before we do go, though, Neil, would you like to tell the good people where they can find you online and your shows and whatnot?
Yeah, well, I only have one. It's called the Mogwai Minute, and we do George Hendricks and I, my co-host George, good old George. Hi, George. Who I believe is going to be a future guest.
He is. He's
on this show.
Yeah, coming up very soon, actually. Yeah, in a couple of weeks' time.
Great. Fantastic. we host the Mogwai Minute, which does the same thing as you guys are doing, but with the movie Gremlins and that old classic. And as you mentioned at the start of the show, we're currently on hiatus. We've wrapped up the first movie. We've got a few hiatus specials in the works that by the time you get round to hearing this, I guess a few of them will be out. So I can just tell you guys, and you two guys get a little inside baseball here.
Hey.
And actually, we're recording the very first one of these tomorrow night, and we're doing a series of one-offs, not minute by minute, just one-off episodes, 60, 90 minutes, something like that, talking about some of our favorite classic Arnold Schwarzenegger movies.
Ooh.
Oh, yes. Yes, that'll be amazing.
So I won't give you the movies, but I will say that it's the first one is coming up. We're recording tomorrow night, and it is a very special one. It's Total Recall, and we've got two very special guests who I won't say who they are.
Oh my God!
Tune in and find out.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
It's Arnold.
It's no one, sadly, from the movie, but very, very, very cool guests. So, I mean, you can find us on iTunes or wherever else you guys find podcasts, and we are just at the Mogwai Minute.
Yeah, make sure to check out Mogwai Minute because it's a fantastic show. And, feel free to message Neil. I'm sure he'd love to hear from fans and whatnot on Twitter and things.
Absolutely.
And make sure to rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes. That's very important. And message us on Facebook at the Batminute 89 Listeners Society. And the number one most important thing you can do is join us again on Wednesday, because we'll be back along with Neil, and we will have minute 65 of Batman.
Next time, to the Batmobile, as Vicki avoids being another of the cackling Kaz's crackling cadavers, a courageous cloaked bloke cascades in for a quick rescue. But the real question is, where does he get those wonderful toys? Find out Wednesday, same Bat Pod.
Different Bat Minute.